It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Marks and Spencer, and this is a can of their American Pale Ale, coming in at 5.3% ABV in a 330 millilitre can. £1.80 in price. It's been brewed by Vocation Brewery. I like Vocation. I think they've done a fantastic job in growing their brand through producing really good supermarket beer at a decent price. Without further ado then, let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. I'm expecting something really light. That is exactly what we're getting. Nice golden amber coloured beer. Good levels of carbonation. 2-finger white head. Loads of unfiltered goodness, as I like to call it, floating around the glass. Absolutely wonderful. Can you hear that? 10 o'clock in the morning. Neighbours have woke up. We have these wonderful neighbours here that seem to wake up. They like to wake up in the middle of the day. Never, you know, one of these types of people, never work a day in their lives. I'm not judging anybody here, I'm just saying these are my neighbours. Never worked a day in their lives. Entitled people. Scream, 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 because they have to wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Unbelievable. But we'll carry on. We'll absolutely carry on. We'll ignore these and move on. I just wanted to explain the banging and the shouting and the screaming, because I've been here 20 years and I've had to deal with this for 20 years, and I've been able to keep my mouth shut when I'm doing my reviews. But I think the older you get, the shorter your fuse gets. So my fuse is not as long as it used to be. I tend to kind of like blow up these days rather early. But I'm entitled to. I work really, really hard. Really do. On with the beer review. Nice hazy looking beer. Let's get the aroma on this amber, light amber coloured beer, straw coloured, amber coloured beer. Ooh, American Pale Ale, it definitely is. I suppose one last thing before we move on to the beer review. It's probably my fault for living in a terraced house. It's been on my mind for a long time. Is that maybe I've outgrown the place. Maybe the fault is not this next door, but maybe it's my own problem for outliving a place and being stubborn enough to go, actually I can deal with it, because actually I can't deal with it and I'm struggling to deal with it anymore. you know, if you haven't heard any bang and if you haven't heard any noise, then I sincerely apologise. But if you have, and you have a neighbour like me, then you know all about it. Zesty, spicy, grapefruity, passion fruit. Smells lovely. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. It's good. It's really good. It's got that kind of really nice American hop appeal. That grapefruit, that passion fruit, that mango. It's also got that American Pale Ale kind of sweetness. There's a way to brew American Pale Ale. The Americans like a sweet beginning to their beer. They like a sweet malty body that then rolls onto a spicy, peppery, bitter finish on the back end that kind of in the middle has grapefruit flavours and orange peel and fleshy blood orange. Yeah, this is a good beer. A good beer. You can see the sediment I was talking about earlier on that was floating around in the middle of the glass. It's made its way to the bottom of the glass now. And just to roll the beer around in the glass, you can see the carbonation chasing the head around the glass. But you can also see there's a very, very refreshing looking beer. I like it. I like that kind of, that fresh malt, that lovely, crisp, fresh malt taste. It balances really well. That sweetness balances really well with the bitterness on the back end. Now I want to talk to you about Vocation. Talking about Vocation and talking about their strategy. I remember hearing about Vocation when they were a small brewery, and they weren't really, you know, they were getting by. They were getting by like every other small microbrewery in the UK. And then they decided, and this changed their business forever. It really did. They decided to hook up with Tesco, and they hooked up with Tesco, and they produced their Life and Death. And a couple of the other beers that they produced for Tesco. And everybody... I tell you what it was. For me, my breakthrough beer for Vocation was the all-day breakfast. They did like the all-day breakfast waffle blueberry stout. And it was tremendous. It was absolutely fantastic. That's when Vocation, in a 440 milliliter, in a white can, that's when this beer really went bang for me. This brewery went bang for me. They really hit my radar. And since then, they produced a lot more beer for Tesco. Lots of people have been kind of enjoying Vocation's beer because they've been relatively cheap for craft beer, but very, very good. They then rolled out, they brewed some beers for Morrison's, they brewed some beer for Sainsbury's. Now they've brewed some beer for M&S. They had one moment for me where a bad moment where they brewed their Perfect Storm for Asda, but I think that was to do with the way that Asda stored the beer. I think Asda stored the beer terribly wrong, and because all of the beer that Asda launched back in April, May tasted dreadful. It was dreadful beer, and I can't believe that lots and lots of breweries got it all wrong. I think that they trusted Asda to look after their beer and put their beers on the shelf in a fresh way, and I think Asda, their distribution centres, they must have left it all outside in the sun or something, because it was really bad. I've never had such a bad beer than some of the beers in Asda, and unfortunately Perfect Storm was one of them. So I need to revisit that beer from Asda. I need to see if they've made any improvements in their distribution. But getting back to the subject of this beer, it's another good job from Vocation with this beer at £1.80 a can. It really is. It really is. So I'm ready to rate it. I like this. I think it's a great beer that you can pass by the shelves in M&S, and you can just pick up a few of these at will. Different session IPAs and American Pale Ales and juicy pale ales and IPA. You can just pick up the whole selection and enjoy them. That's the most important thing. And have a different taste each time. I like this beer enough to give it an 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.